The gallery owner's voice cuts through me like a knife. "Clara, your work. It doesn't sell." My chest tightens as I stand there, clutching the edges of my painting, colors bleeding into each other, chaotic but alive. The room smells sterile, all polished wood and judgment, and I feel like I can't breathe. My hands tremble so hard I'm afraid I'll drop the rejection letter that says "not marketable." It's not just paper. It's years of doubt wrapped up in 6 cold words. I came here today hoping for something different, some glimmer of hope to prove Dad wrong. He always said, "Art won't pay your bills," and now it feels like he's standing right beside me, shaking his head. But this isn't about him anymore. It's about me. About proving to myself that I'm more than what they see when they look at my art. Except, what if they're right? What if everything I've poured my soul into is worthless? Every brush stroke I've ever made flashes before my eyes. Late nights in my attic studio, paint-stained fingers, the way turpentine burns my nostrils. All those sacrifices? For what? To hear another person tell me I'm not good enough? No. That's not how this ends. Not today. If you want to know how I turned pain into purpose, subscribe now. This story will make you question what truly matters, and maybe even inspire you to chase your own dreams. Don't miss it. Let me tell you about the people who shape my world, because honestly, this story isn't just mine, it's ours. First, there's me, Clara Hayes. I'm not some big-shot artist or a glamorous gallery regular. I'm just a girl with paint under her nails and dreams bigger than my attic studio on Maple Street. I paint because it's how I make sense of everything. This chaos in my head, the ache in my chest, the longing for something more. But beneath all that ambition is fear, gnawing at me like a shadow I can't shake. Fear that maybe Dad was right when he said art wouldn't pay the bills. That maybe I've been chasing something unattainable all along. Then there's Dad. Or rather, his memory. He wasn't always easy to love. He had this gruff way of speaking, like sandpaper wrapped around truth. His voice still echoes in my mind. "Clara, you need a real job." It stung every time, but now I wonder if he only said those things because he worried about me. Worried I'd end up broke, bitter, alone. Even after he passed, his words lingered like an unfinished conversation, haunting me whenever doubt crept in. Now, standing here in the aftermath of yet another rejection, I feel him closer than ever, like he's watching, waiting to see if I'll finally listen. And then there's Sarah, my best friend since forever. She's the kind of person who shows up without being asked, whether it's to help clean spilled paint off the floor or sit silently while I cry over another failed submission. Sarah believes in me even when I don't believe in myself. "You're going to change the art world one day," she says, her voice steady and sure. But sometimes I think she sees something in me that doesn't exist anymore. A version of myself from before the rejections piled up and the doubts took root. Finally, there's Mr. Calloway, the stranger who walked into my life and changed everything. He's older, distinguished, with silver hair and a gaze that feels like it sees straight through you. When he bought my first painting, it wasn't just money changing hands. It was validation, hope, a lifeline thrown into the stormy sea of my insecurities. Yet, as grateful as I am, part of me wonders why he chose my work. Was it really about the art? Or did he see something else? A reflection of himself, maybe. Or a piece of the puzzle I haven't figured out yet. These people, they're the threads woven into the fabric of my journey. Each one pulls at me differently, shaping who I am and who I might become. And trust me, their roles are far from over. There's so much more to uncover, especially about Dad and about myself. You won't. Want to miss what happens next? Let me take you to my world, my attic studio on Maple Street. It's small, with slanted ceilings that press down on me like the weight of expectations I can't seem to shake. Sunlight filters through cracks in the blinds, slicing across the wooden floor in golden streaks. The air smells thick with turpentine and oil paints, a sharpness that clings to your clothes and lungs but feels oddly comforting, like an old friend who never leaves. Dust motes float lazily in the light, catching the colors of unfinished canvases leaning against every wall. The room is chaos, but it's my chaos. Paint tubes are squeezed dry and tossed aside. Brushes caked with dried pigment sit in jars of murky water. There's always a mug nearby, half full of cold coffee or lavender tea, whichever got me through the last late night. Outside, cars rumble down Maple Street, their tires whispering against asphalt, mingling with the occasional laugh of kids playing tag. It's quiet enough for me to think, loud enough to remind me I'm still part of something bigger. But it's not all cozy creativity up here. On days when rejection hits hard, this space turns suffocating. The same sunlight that once felt warm now burns, exposing every flaw in my work. The scent of paint becomes nauseating, clinging to my skin like regret. Every brushstroke feels heavier, slower, as if the universe itself is trying to tell me to stop wasting time. Some nights, I sit cross-legged amidst the mess, staring at blank canvases, wondering if they'll ever hold anything worth seeing. Other times, I pace, restless energy buzzing under my skin, desperate for release. Downstairs, life moves differently. The landlord's footsteps echo ominously on the stairs when rent is overdue. Neighbors argue behind thin walls, their voices muffled but tense. It's a constant reminder of how fragile everything is. The delicate balance between chasing dreams and surviving reality. This place isn't perfect, but it's mine. For better or worse, it holds my hopes, my failures, my secrets, and right. Now standing here after another crushing blow, surrounded by unfinished pieces and unanswered questions, I wonder, will this tiny attic be where my dream dies? Or where it finally comes alive? Either way, you're going to want to stick around. You won't believe what happens next. You ever feel like you're standing at a crossroads, and no matter which way you turn, something inside you screams that it's wrong? That's me right now. I want to create art that matters, art that speaks to people the way music or poetry does, but the world keeps telling me it doesn't work like that. Galleries don't get me. They call my pieces too raw, too emotional, not marketable. And then there's Dad's voice in my head, always lurking. Art won't pay your bills. It's not just his words. It's the weight behind them, the worry he tried so hard to hide. He wanted security for me, stability. But all I've ever wanted is to pour myself onto canvas and see if anyone else sees what I do. So here I am, stuck between staying true to who I am and surviving in a world that doesn't seem to have room for dreamers like me. Every time I pick up a brush, it feels heavier than before. Like every stroke isn't just paint. It's hope, fear, desperation, all mixed together. What happens if I keep going down this path and fail? What happens if I give up entirely? The stakes are higher than they look. If I can't make this work, I lose more than money. I lose myself, my identity. The one thing Dad couldn't understand. The one thing I've clung to even when it felt like drowning. But how long can I hold on when every rejection cuts deeper than the last? And it's not just about selling paintings or paying rent. It's about proving to myself, to Dad, to everyone, that I'm not wasting my life. That art does matter. That maybe, just maybe, someone out there will look at my work and feel less alone. Isn't that why we create anything in the first place? To connect? To leave something behind that says, I was here and I mattered? But here's the thing. The hardest part isn't the rejections. It's the doubt creeping in, whispering that maybe they're right. Maybe my art isn't good enough. Maybe I should stop chasing some unattainable dream and settle for something safer. Something predictable. Something Dad would approve of. Except, Could I live with myself if I did? Could I wake up every day knowing I traded passion for practicality? Then, there's Sarah. She believes in me so fiercely it almost hurts. Every time I tell her I'm thinking of quitting, she shakes her head and says, "Clara, you're meant for this." But what if she's wrong? What if I'm fooling both of us? And what about Mr. Calloway, the stranger who bought my first piece? His approval felt like oxygen after suffocating underwater. But was it real? Did he see something in my work, or was he just humoring me? So here's my question to you. If you were me, standing in this tiny attic studio filled with half-finished canvases and unanswered questions, what would you do? Would you keep fighting, risking everything for a chance to prove yourself? Or would you walk away, choosing safety over uncertainty? Because honestly, I don't know anymore. All I know is that whatever choice I make next changes everything, and you won't believe where it leads. The eviction notice lands on my floor with a soft thud, but it might as well have been a bomb going off. My heart stops, then kicks into overdrive, pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. The paper is thin, almost delicate, but the words are anything but. Vacate by the end of the month. Just like that, the walls of my attic studio close in around me, suffocating and unyielding. Rent's overdue again. I knew it was coming, but seeing it written down makes it real. Too real. Panic claws at my chest, sharp and relentless. How am I supposed to pay this when I can't even sell a single painting? I scramble for solutions, my mind racing faster than I can keep up. There's no way I can afford another month here, let alone find a new place. I think about calling Sarah. She'd help if she could. But guilt slams into me before I even pick up the phone. She's already done so much, showing up with groceries when I didn't have money for food, sitting through countless rants about galleries rejecting my work. Asking her for more feels like admitting defeat, like proving Dad right all over again. And Mr. Calloway? He bought one painting, sure, but what are the odds he'll come back for more? Even if he does, it won't be enough. Not fast enough anyway. Desperation takes hold, and I start throwing together pieces I don't even believe in anymore. Landscapes that look like they came from a tourist postcard. Still life so lifeless they make me cringe. Anything that might sell. But every stroke feels wrong, forced, like I'm betraying something sacred. This isn't art. It's survival. Or at least that's what I tell myself as I slap paint onto canvas after canvas, hoping against hope that someone somewhere will see value in them. When I finally drag myself to the gallery, my arms full of rolled-up paintings, the owner barely looks up from her desk. "Clara," she says, her tone flat, "you need to stop bringing these in until you've refined your style." Refined? My style? What does that even mean? Does she think I haven't spent sleepless nights agonizing over every detail, every color choice? That I haven't poured everything I have into these works? Her dismissal hits harder than any rejection letter, because it's personal. It's not just my art, it's me. Everything I am, everything I've fought for, dismissed in 2 seconds flat. Walking home, the weight of failure presses down on me like a storm cloud refusing to break. Cars honk in the distance, kids laugh somewhere nearby, but none of it touches me. All I hear is Dad's voice again. "Art won't pay your bills." For the first time, I wonder if maybe he was right. Maybe I've been chasing something impossible, something that doesn't exist outside my own head. What's the point of creating if no one sees it, if no one cares? Back in my studio, I stare at the eviction notice pinned to the wall like a scarlet letter. Paint tubes lie scattered across the floor, their colors mocking me. Outside, the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch across the room like fingers reaching out to grab me. I sit cross-legged amid the mess, staring blankly at an unfinished canvas. It's supposed to be abstract, chaotic, emotional, but right now it feels empty. Like me. And then it hits me, the raw truth I've been avoiding. If I can't figure this out soon, I'll lose everything. Not just the studio, but the dream itself. The thought terrifies me more than anything else ever has. Because without this space, without the ability to create, who am I? Who am I if I'm not an artist? So here's where I am now. Standing on the edge of giving up or doubling down, knowing either choice comes with consequences I may not be ready to face. Would you fight for something that keeps pushing you away? Or would you walk away, protecting yourself from further pain? Either way, the clock is ticking. And trust me, things are about to get worse before they get better. Just when I think I've hit rock bottom, Mr. Calloway walks back into my life like some kind of miracle. Or maybe a mirage. He shows up unannounced, at my studio one afternoon, his silver hair catching the sunlight streaming through the blinds. In his hand is an envelope, thick and heavy with promise. "Clara," he says, his voice calm but deliberate. "I'd like to purchase 3 of your pieces. 3. My heart skips a beat as he hands me the check, the numbers on it blurring together in my shock. It's more money than I've ever seen in my life, enough to cover the rent, pay off overdue bills, and give me breathing room for months. For the first time in what feels like forever, I can breathe. The eviction notice stays pinned to the wall, but it no longer looms over me like a death sentence. I walk to the landlord's office later that day, check in hand, feeling something I haven't felt in years, relief. When I slide the payment across his desk, he looks surprised, maybe even a little guilty. "You're good until next quarter," he mutters, avoiding eye contact. For once, I don't care about his tone or attitude. All that matters is that I've bought myself time. Time to regroup, rethink, survive. Word spreads quickly after Mr. Calloway's purchase. Galleries start calling again, intrigued by the buzz surrounding my name. One curator emails me, saying she wants to feature my work in an upcoming showcase. Another asks if I'm available for a commission. Suddenly, people are interested, not just in my art but in me. Doors that were slammed shut weeks ago now creak open, tentative but inviting. Sarah beams when she hears the news, hugging me so tight I almost lose my balance. "See?" she says, her voice trembling with excitement. "This is your moment. You're unstoppable." But beneath the surface-level triumph, doubt begins to creep in, whispering questions I try to ignore. Why did Mr. Calloway come back? Why now? Was it really about the art, or was there something else driving him? And why does it feel like every new opportunity comes with strings attached? The gallery owners who once dismissed me now smile too, wide, their compliments laced with thinly veiled suggestions. Maybe soften the edges a bit. Consider toning down the colors. They want me to change, to fit their mold instead of standing out. At first, I resist. I tell myself I won't compromise. But then I remember the eviction notice, the sleepless nights, the fear of losing everything. What choice do I really have? Even Sarah notices something's off. She watches me silently as I paint one evening, her brow furrowed in concern. "It's beautiful," she says finally, gesturing to the canvas in front of me, but her pause speaks louder than her words. "Does it feel like you, though?" Her question hangs in the air, heavy and unshakable. Do I even know who me is anymore? The Clara who painted chaotic, raw emotion seems like someone else entirely. A ghost haunting the corners of this attic studio while I churn out pieces designed to please others. And then there's Mr. Calloway himself. After his initial visit, he disappears without explanation, leaving behind only silence. No calls, no emails, nothing. His absence nags at me, gnawing at the edges of my newfound security. Did he get what he wanted? Was buying my paintings just a transaction, or part of something bigger? Every time I glance at the empty space where he stood during that brief encounter, I feel a chill run down my spine. So here I am, caught between gratitude and unease. Things seem better, safer, but how long will it last? How much of myself am I willing to trade for stability? And what happens when the cracks beneath my feet start to widen again? Because deep down, I can't shake the feeling that this fragile piece isn't permanent. Something's coming. Something I'm not ready for. Things are falling apart again, and this time it's worse. So much worse. Just when I thought I had a handle on everything, life decided to remind me how fragile this house of cards really is. It starts with a review. Not just any review. One from the gallery showcase I poured my soul into. The one that was supposed to be my big break. The critic's words hit me like a punch to the gut. Clara Hayes shows technical skill but lacks depth. Her work feels calculated, hollow, a shadow of what could have been. Calculated? Hollow? I read those sentences over and over, each word slicing through me sharper than the last. All those late nights, all those compromises, all those pieces I didn't believe in. They weren't enough. Worse, they made me lose myself. The gallery curator calls me later that day, her tone clipped and businesslike. "We need to discuss your direction," she says, as if I'm some kind of project instead of a person. She suggests I align more closely with market trends and focus on commercial appeal. Translation: stop being messy, stop being real, stop being me. But isn't that exactly why Mr. Calloway bought my first painting? Because it was raw, emotional, alive. Or was he lying too, feeding me false hope while I stumbled blindly forward? Then comes the second blow. Sarah stops by unannounced, her usual cheer replaced by something darker, heavier. She holds up a magazine article featuring my recent work, her hands trembling slightly. "Is this who you are now?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Her disappointment cuts deeper than any critic's review ever could. I try to explain that I needed the sales, that I couldn't afford to keep failing, but the excuses sound hollow even to me. "You used to create because you had no choice," she says, shaking her head. "Now it feels like you're doing it because you don't know how to stop." As if that's not enough, Mr. Calloway reappears out of nowhere, this time with an offer I can't ignore and shouldn't trust. He wants me to recreate someone else's style for a private collector willing to pay an obscene amount of money. "Think of it as collaboration," he says smoothly, his eyes avoiding mine. Collaboration? No, this is theft. This is erasing everything I stand for. But the number he mentions would solve every problem I have. Rent, supplies, freedom to paint, without fear of eviction. Still, the idea makes my stomach churn. How far am I willing to go before I cross a line I can't uncross? Every brushstroke feels heavier now, every decision laced with guilt and dread. I sit alone in my studio, staring at blank canvases like they're mirrors reflecting back everything I've lost. Who am I anymore? Am I still an artist or just someone churning out product? And if I take Mr. Calloway's deal, will I ever forgive myself? The cracks beneath my feet are widening, threatening to swallow me whole. Something has to give. But what? And when it does, will there be anything left of me to salvage? I'm standing in my attic studio, staring at a check that feels like poison. Mr. Calloway's offer is right there in front of me. $50,000 to recreate someone else's style. For a private collector. $50,000. That's not just money. It's salvation. It's rent paid, supplies stocked, freedom to breathe again without the constant weight of survival pressing down on me. But here's the catch. It's not my art. Not even close. The collector wants me to mimic another artist's signature technique. Something bold and geometric, starkly different from the emotional chaos I've poured into every piece I've ever created. If I say yes, I'll be selling out in a way I never thought I would. If I say no, I risk losing everything I've fought so hard to hold on to. The air smells stale, like old paint and desperation. My hands shake as I clutch the check, its edges cutting into my palms. This isn't just about money, it's about who I am, or maybe who I'm becoming. What kind of artist compromises their integrity for cash? What kind of person sells their soul for security? And yet, what kind of idiot turns down an opportunity that could change everything? I think about Sarah's words the other day. Is this who you are now? She didn't mean to hurt me. I know she didn't. But her question lingers, festering like an open wound. Is this who I am? Someone willing to trade authenticity for approval? Or am I still fighting for something real, something true? Mr. Calloway stands across the room, watching me with those piercing eyes of his, unreadable but expectant. This is business, Clara, he says, his tone smooth and practiced, like he's delivered this speech 100 times before. Artists adapt. They evolve. You're talented. You can make this work. His words sound reasonable, almost comforting, but they feel wrong, like swallowing something sour. He's not asking me to grow. He's asking me to betray myself, to become someone else entirely. And then there's Dad's voice again, louder than ever. Art won't pay your bills. For once, I wonder if he'd approve of this deal. Would he see it as practical, necessary, or would he recognize it for what it is? A betrayal of everything I've claimed to stand for. The irony isn't lost on me. All those years of trying to prove him wrong, and now I'm considering doing exactly what he warned me against, chasing profit over passion. Except, wasn't that always part of the equation? Survival has a price, doesn't it? So why does this one feel so impossibly high? Outside, the world keeps moving. Cars rumble down Maple Street. Kids laugh somewhere far away. Life goes on as if none of this matters. But inside this tiny attic, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every choice feels like stepping into quicksand. Say yes, and I lose my identity, my values, the very thing that makes me me. Say no, and I face eviction, failure, the end of my dream before it's even begun. How do you choose between two impossible options? Do you save yourself today, knowing it might cost you tomorrow? Or do you cling to ideals that feel increasingly out of reach, hoping someday they'll matter more than food or shelter? Sarah texts me later that night, probably sensing how torn up I am. Whatever you decide, make sure it's for you, she writes. Her words are meant to comfort, but they only deepen the ache. Make sure it's for me? I don't even know who me is anymore. Am I the girl who painted chaotic colors late into the night because she had no other way to express herself? Or am I the woman standing here, holding a check that promises safety but demands silence? So here's where I'm stuck. Do I take the money, betraying everything I believe in, or walk away, risking everything I've worked for? Would you fight to stay true to yourself, even if it means giving up stability? Or would you compromise, telling yourself it's temporary, that you'll find your way back somehow? Either way, I know this decision will haunt me, because whatever I choose, I'm not the same person walking out of this moment as the one who walked in. And trust me, things are about to get much, much harder. The decision I made, or maybe didn't make, is tearing me apart. Just as I'm about to call Mr. Calloway and tell him no, that I can't sell out my soul for his deal, something happens that stops me cold. An envelope arrives in the mail, addressed in handwriting I don't recognize but somehow feel like I've seen before. My name is scrawled across the front in shaky letters, Clara Hayes. I rip it open, heart pounding, expecting another rejection or some bureaucratic nonsense from the landlord. Instead, I find a letter. No, not just any letter. It's from Dad. Except, it's not written to me. The words blur as I read them, each sentence hitting me like a sledgehammer. "Dear Evelyn," it begins, and my stomach drops. Who is Evelyn? Why does she have a letter from Dad? The content is cryptic, filled with apologies and regrets, mentions of unfinished paintings and promises he never kept. He talks about inspiration, about how meeting her changed everything for him, but nothing about Mom, nothing about our family. By the time I reach the end, tears are streaming down my face, smudging the ink. The last line cuts deepest. "I hope you'll forgive me for leaving things unresolved." Unresolved? What things? And why did he write this instead of talking to her or to us? My hands tremble so hard I almost drop the letter. Questions flood my mind faster than I can answer them. Did Dad have an affair? Was Evelyn more than just a muse? Is that why he always pushed me toward practicality, away from art? Was he trying to protect me or punish himself? I try calling Sarah, desperate for someone to ground me, but she doesn't pick up. So I sit there alone, staring at the letter, feeling like the floor has been ripped out from under me. And then comes the worst part. As I dig through old boxes looking for answers, I find sketches hidden beneath stacks of yellowed papers. They're signed by Dad, but they're unmistakably mine. Or at least, they look like what my work might have become if I hadn't fought so hard to stay true to myself. Colors bleed together, lines twist violently, emotions explode off the page. Except these aren't mine. They're his. His secrets, his pain, his unspoken truths. Pieces of him I never knew existed. How could he create something so raw, so honest, and then turn around and crush my dreams of doing the same? Every discovery feels like another knife twisting deeper. This isn't just about art anymore. It's about trust, identity, legacy. Everything I thought I knew about Dad, about myself, is crumbling into dust. I start questioning everything. His dismissals, his warnings, even his love. Was he jealous of my passion because it reminded him of something he lost? Or was he ashamed of it, afraid I'd end up like him? Broken, regretful, haunted. Mr. Calloway calls later that night, impatient now. "Have you decided?" he asks, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. I want to scream at him, to tell him I'm drowning in questions bigger than his offer, but all I manage is a choked, "Give me one more day." One more day to figure out who I am, who Dad really was, and whether taking his money will destroy whatever's left of both of us. Outside, thunder rolls across the sky, shaking the windows of my attic studio. Rain pounds against the roof, relentless and unforgiving, mirroring the storm inside me. Paint tubes lie scattered on the floor, colors mixing into muddy pools. Blank canvases lean against the walls, accusing me of cowardice. Even the air smells heavier, thick with turpentine and dread. Every breath feels like swallowing guilt. So here I am, caught between two impossible choices. Take the deal and betray myself, or walk away and risk losing everything, including the truth about Dad. What would you do if you were me? Would you chase answers, even if it meant sacrificing your dream? Or would you cling to survival, hoping someday the pieces will fit back together? Either way, I know one thing for sure. The next step changes everything, and not just for me, for everyone involved. Because sometimes, the hardest decisions aren't about what we gain, they're about what we lose. And right now, I'm losing myself. I'm sitting in Dad's old study now, surrounded by boxes I haven't opened since the day he died. The air smells musty, like forgotten memories and regrets that never had a chance to breathe. Outside, the rain hasn't stopped. It pounds against the window panes like it's trying to break in, relentless and unyielding. Every creak of the floorboards feels heavier than it should. Every shadow darker. This room was off limits growing up, his sanctuary where no one dared intrude. Now, it's my battlefield. The sketches I found earlier are laid out on the desk in front of me, their jagged lines and bleeding colors staring back at me like ghosts. They're hauntingly familiar. Too familiar. It's not just that they resemble my work. It's like looking into a mirror that reflects who I could have been if I hadn't spent years fighting for scraps of validation. Did Dad suppress his own creativity because he feared failure? Or did he push me away from art to protect me from becoming him? Either way, these pieces feel like secrets he wasn't brave enough to share. And now, they're mine to unravel. As I sift through more papers, letters, and half-finished drawings, I find another envelope tucked inside an old sketchbook. My name is on it this time, written in Dad's unmistakable scrawl. My hands shake so hard I almost drop it. What will it say? Another apology? A confession? An explanation for why he treated me the way he did? I hesitate before opening it, terrified of what I might find. Part of me wants answers, but another part, the scared, fragile part, wants to run far away from whatever truth lies inside. And then there's Evelyn. Who is she? Why did Dad write to her instead of talking to her? Did she inspire him or hurt him? Was she the reason he couldn't look at my paintings without flinching? I can't stop thinking about her, wondering if she holds the missing piece of this puzzle. If I track her down, will she give me closure or shatter everything I thought I knew about my father? Every discovery pulls me deeper into a web of questions with no clear answers. The weight of it all presses down on me until I feel like I can't breathe. Mr. Calloway's deadline looms over me like a ticking clock, reminding me that time isn't on my side. Take the money, betray myself, or walk away empty-handed and risk losing the studio, the dream, everything. But how do you make a choice when your heart and mind are screaming in opposite directions? Sarah texts me again. You okay? I want to tell her yes, that I've got this under control. But the truth is, I don't. I'm drowning, suffocating under the weight of choices I'm not ready to face. Would you trust yourself to make the right call if you were me? Or would you freeze, paralyzed by fear of making the wrong one? Right now, I'm standing on the edge of something huge, something that will change everything. And you won't believe what happens next. Subscribe now to see how Clara uncovers the truth about her father, confronts her deepest fears, and decides whether to save herself or sacrifice everything for art. This story gets real. Don't miss it. Because sometimes, the hardest battles aren't fought on canvas. They're fought within ourselves. And trust me, this fight is far from over. The moment I open the envelope with my name on it, everything changes. The room feels smaller. The air thicker, like I'm trapped in a pressure cooker about to explode. Dad's handwriting stares back at me, shaky but deliberate, and for the first time, I realize how much it looks like mine. Clara, it begins, and just seeing my name written by his hand makes my chest tighten. He starts with apologies. So, many apologies, and then he says something that stops my heart. I never wanted you to follow in my footsteps. What does that even mean? Follow him where? To failure? To regret? To hiding your art away because you're too afraid to let anyone see it? His words spill out across the page, raw and unfiltered, revealing pieces of him I never knew existed. He talks about Evelyn, not as a muse or a lover, but as someone who saw him when no one else did. Someone who believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. Then came Mom, marriage, family, responsibility. And suddenly, his art became something he locked away, buried beneath layers of duty and fear. But here's the part that guts me. You remind me so much of her, of what I lost. Me? Remind him of Evelyn? Not Mom, not the life we built together, but someone else entirely? My mind races, trying to piece together fragments of memories. Moments when Dad looked at me painting and flinched like he'd been struck. Was it pride or pain he felt? Did he see her in me? Or worse, himself? I stumble through the rest of the letter, tears blurring the ink until it smears into nothingness. By the end, I'm clutching the paper so tightly it crumples in my hands. He finishes with one last plea. Don't let fear steal your voice like it stole mine. Fear. That word hangs there, heavy and suffocating, echoing louder than any storm outside. All this time, I thought Dad dismissed my art because he didn't care. But maybe he pushed me away because he cared too much. Because seeing me chase something he gave up on broke him in ways I'll never fully understand. That's when it hits me. The real fight isn't with Mr. Calloway or galleries or critics. It's not even with Dad. It's with myself. With the fear that's been whispering lies in my ear since the day I picked up a brush. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. Stop before they hurt you. Every rejection, every compromise, every doubt, it all circles back to that same voice. And now, standing here surrounded by Dad's secrets, I have to decide. Do I keep running from fear? Or do I face it head on? Mr. Calloway calls again, his tone sharper this time. Time's up, Clara. Are you in or out? His words feel distant, almost irrelevant compared to the war raging inside me. Taking his deal means survival. But at what cost? Walking away means risking everything. But for the first time, I wonder if losing everything might be worth it, if it means staying true to myself. I grab a blank canvas and start painting without thinking, letting instinct guide my hands. Colors bleed together, chaotic and alive, just like the storm still raging outside. For once, I don't care about perfection or approval. I just need to create, to scream without making a sound, to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I'm still here, still fighting, still breathing. And then Sarah bursts into the room, soaked from the rain, holding an address scribbled on a scrap of paper. Evelyn, she says breathlessly. She lives nearby. If you want answers, you need to go now. Go? Leave everything behind to confront a stranger who holds pieces of Dad's past? And maybe mine too? My legs feel like lead, but my heart screams yes. Because sometimes the only way forward is straight through the fire. So here I am, torn between two paths. Take the money and lose myself. Or chase the truth and risk losing everything else. Either way, I know one thing for sure. This decision will change me forever. And trust me, you won't believe what happens next. I knock on Evelyn's door, my heart pounding so hard I can feel it in my fingertips. The rain has soaked through, my coat cold and heavy against my skin, but I barely notice. All I can think about is the letter, the sketches, the secrets Dad left behind, and how this woman might hold the key to understanding them all. When she opens the door, I freeze. She looks familiar. Not just vaguely familiar, like someone you pass on the street, but deeply, achingly familiar. Her eyes are kind but tired, framed by lines that tell stories of their own. And then it hits me. She looks like me. Or rather, I look like her. Clara, she says softly, as if she's been expecting me. Her voice cracks slightly, betraying an emotion I can't quite place. Come in. I step inside, dripping water onto her hardwood floor, and follow her to a small living room filled with books, photographs, and paintings, dozens of them. My breath catches when I see one hanging above the fireplace. It's unmistakably Dad's work, the same jagged lines, the same bleeding colors, but it's signed E.H. Evelyn Hayes. My stomach drops as realization dawns. She wasn't just his muse, she was his partner, in every sense of the word. I loved him, she says simply, reading the shock on my face. More than anything. But your mother. She needed him too. And he chose her. Her words land like a punch to the gut. Chose her? What does that even mean? Did Mom know? Did Dad leave because of guilt or love? Evelyn hands me a sketchbook filled with drawings, Dad's unfinished works. And suddenly, I'm staring at pieces of myself. Pieces I didn't even realize were missing until now. He wanted you to finish these, she whispers. That's why he wrote to me. But then comes the twist, the thing neither of us saw coming. As Evelyn flips through the pages, something falls out, a photograph. A faded Polaroid of two people smiling, arms wrapped around each other like the world couldn't touch them. Except, one of those people isn't Dad. It's Mom. And the man beside her? He looks younger, happier, but there's no mistaking his face. It's Mr. Calloway. What is this? I choke out, holding up the photo, my hands trembling violently. Evelyn's expression shifts, guilt flickering across her features. Your father wasn't the only one keeping secrets, she admits quietly. Mr. Calloway, he was your mother's first love. Before your dad. Before everything. My mind reels as the pieces click into place. The gallery visits, the sudden interest in my work, the offers that felt too good to be true. It wasn't random. It was personal. He wasn't investing in me. He was trying to rewrite history, to reclaim something he lost decades ago. Now I don't know who to trust or what to believe. Was Dad protecting me or running from his own mistakes? Is Mr. Calloway helping me or using me to erase the past? And where does that leave me? Betrayed or finally free? If you're loving. This roller coaster of secrets, lies, and shocking twists. Subscribe now for more unforgettable stories that will leave you questioning everything. This journey is just beginning. You won't want to miss what happens next. I sit in Evelyn's living room, the photograph still clutched in my hand like it's a lifeline. Or maybe a grenade. My mind races, trying to make sense of everything. I've learned Dad's secrets, Mom's past, Mr. Calloway's motives. But beneath all the chaos, there's something else. A clarity I haven't felt in years. For so long, I've been chasing approval, validation, anything to prove that I'm enough, that my art matters. But now, staring at this tangled web of love and loss, betrayal and redemption, I realize something I should have known all along. I don't need anyone else to tell me who I am. Evelyn watches me silently, her eyes filled with both sadness and hope. Your father wasn't perfect, she says finally, her voice soft but firm. But he loved you more than words could ever say. Loved me? How can that be true when he spent years telling me art was useless, when he pushed me toward practicality instead of passion? And yet, maybe his warnings weren't about dismissing my dreams. Maybe they were about protecting me from the same pain he carried, the kind of pain that comes from pouring your soul into something only to have it rejected, ignored, forgotten. The rain has stopped outside, leaving behind an eerie calm. The silence in the room feels heavy, but not suffocating, not anymore. It's like the storm inside me has finally broken, washing away the fear and doubt that held me captive for so long. I think about all the times I hesitated before picking up a brush, all the moments I second-guessed myself because someone else said I wasn't good enough. What if I'd trusted myself instead? What if I'd painted not for galleries or collectors or even Dad, but for me? Standing up, I walk over to Evelyn's fireplace and stare at the painting hanging above it. Dad's unfinished work, his raw, unfiltered truth. Something inside me shifts as I look at it. Not just admiration, but understanding. This isn't just his story, it's mine too. All those jagged lines, those bleeding colors. They're my emotions, my struggles, my victories. They're proof that art doesn't exist to please others. It exists to heal us, to connect us, to remind us we're alive. When I get back to my attic studio later that night, everything feels different. The turpentine smell no longer makes me nauseous. It's comforting, familiar. The scattered paint tubes and brushes aren't signs of failure. They're evidence of effort, of trying even when it felt impossible. I grab a blank canvas and start painting without thinking, letting instinct guide my hands. Colors bleed together, chaotic and beautiful, just like life itself. For once, I don't care about perfection or marketability. I just need to create. To speak without words, to scream without sound, to prove to myself that I'm still here, still fighting, still breathing. As dawn breaks through the cracks in the blinds, I step back and look at what I've made. It's messy, imperfect, raw, but it's mine. Completely, unapologetically mine. And for the first time in years, I feel free. Free from fear, free from doubt, free from the need to prove anything to anyone. Because here's the truth I've been running from all along. Art isn't about being seen, it's about seeing yourself. Really seeing yourself, flaws and all, and choosing to keep going anyway. So here I am, standing on the other side of everything I thought I knew. I don't have all the answers. Not about Dad, not about Mom, not about Mr. Calloway. But I don't need them. Not right now. What I do know is this. I'm done letting fear dictate my choices. Done letting other people define who I am or what I'm capable of. If you had asked me a week ago whether I'd take Mr. Calloway's deal, I would have said yes without hesitation. Now, I turn down his call, delete his messages, and block his number. Not out of anger or spite, but because I finally understand that some things are worth more than money. And that's where this chapter ends. But not the story. Because transformation isn't a destination, it's a journey, a messy, imperfect, ongoing process. So tell me, when was the last time you faced your fears head-on and chose to trust yourself? What did it teach you about who you are and who you want to become? Comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The gallery opens its doors to my new collection, and for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid. Not of rejection, not of judgment, not of failure. The space is packed. Critics, collectors, strangers whose faces blur together in a sea of anticipation. But none of that matters anymore. What matters is the art on the walls. Pieces born from pain and truth and courage. Pieces that are undeniably, unapologetically me. As people move through the room, their reactions hit me like waves crashing against the shore. Some stop abruptly, staring at my work with wide eyes. Others linger quietly, tears streaming down their cheeks. A critic who once called my art hollow stands frozen in front of one painting, a chaotic swirl of colors bleeding into each other, and whispers something I can't quite catch. When I approach him later, he looks up at me, his expression unreadable but sincere. "This," he says, gesturing toward the canvas, "is alive." Alive. The word echoes in my mind, resonating deeper than any review or accolade ever could. Because that's what this journey has been about. Learning how to breathe again, how to live fully even when it hurts. Sarah finds me near the end of the night, her face glowing brighter than the lights overhead. She hugs me tight, squeezing so hard I almost lose my balance. "You did it," she says, her voice trembling with emotion. "No," I correct her gently, pulling back to meet her gaze. "We did it. Because none of this would have happened without her belief, her unwavering support, her ability to see me when I couldn't see myself. But the moment that sticks with me most happens near the exit, where Evelyn waits patiently, leaning on her cane. Her eyes scan the room, taking in every piece, every brushstroke, every color. When she finally turns to me, there's pride in her expression, but also relief. "He'd be so proud of you," she says simply, her voice steady despite the tears pooling in her eyes. "Your father, he always knew you were extraordinary." Extraordinary. Hearing those words from her feels like redemption. Not just for me, but for Dad too. For all the years we spent misunderstanding each other. For all the love we couldn't find the words to express. Later, as the crowd thins and the noise fades, I stand alone in front of a single painting. Dad's unfinished work, now completed by my hands. It's messy, raw, imperfect, but it's ours. His jagged lines blend seamlessly with my chaotic colors, creating something neither of us could have made alone. Standing there, I feel closer to him than I have in years, maybe ever. This isn't closure, it's connection. Proof that even after loss, even after secrets and betrayals and regrets, we can still find ways to heal, to grow, to create something beautiful out of broken pieces. Outside, the city buzzes with life, indifferent to the storm I've weathered inside these walls. Cars honk, footsteps echo, conversations overlap in a symphony of humanity. And yet, everything feels different, lighter, brighter, like I've stepped out of a fog I didn't realize I was living in. My phone buzzes in my pocket, messages pouring in from galleries, journalists, fans. Offers I would have killed for months ago now feel secondary, almost trivial. Because here's the thing I understand now. Success isn't validation. It's freedom. Freedom to keep going, to keep creating, to keep becoming. So here I am, standing on the edge of a new beginning. The eviction notice is gone. The debt's paid. The doubts silenced. Not forever, but for now. And while the road ahead will undoubtedly bring challenges, I no longer fear them. Because I've faced my worst fears head on. And I survived. More than that, I thrived. This isn't the end of my story. It's just the start of a new chapter. One written in colors only I can see, painted with hands that tremble less and hearts that beat stronger. Whatever comes next, I'll face it not as someone searching for approval, but as someone who knows exactly who she is and who she wants to be. Life feels different now. For everyone, not just me. Sarah's been quieter lately, more reflective, like she's processing everything that's happened alongside me. She still shows up at my studio unannounced, but instead of bringing groceries or pep talks, she brings books about artists who overcame impossible odds. "You're one of them now," she says with a grin, though her eyes are serious. I think she's proud, not just because I've succeeded, but because I've stayed, true to myself. Her belief in me has shifted too. It's less about protecting me from failure and more about cheering me on as I chase dreams bigger than either of us imagined. Evelyn visits often now, almost like she's claiming her place in my life, and mine in hers. We sit together in my attic studio, surrounded by unfinished canvases and half-empty cups of tea, talking for hours about Dad. Not the man he pretended to be, but the artist he hid away. She tells me stories I never knew. How he used to stay up all night painting. How he'd cry when no one understood his work. How he once said creating art felt like ripping your soul open and hoping someone else sees the light. Those words hit me hard because they're exactly how I feel every time I pick up a brush. Knowing that part of him, the vulnerable human part, makes me love him even more. Makes me forgive him too. Evelyn doesn't push for anything beyond what I'm ready to give, but I can tell she's grateful we found each other before it was too late. And then there's Mr. Calloway, or rather, the absence of him. Blocking his number wasn't easy. It felt like slamming a door on a piece of Mom's past I'll never fully understand, but it was necessary. Still, I wonder sometimes, does he regret using me to rewrite history? Does he miss her? The woman he loved first but couldn't keep? Part of me wants answers, closure, something to tie up the loose ends of his story with mine. But another part knows some questions don't have answers, and maybe shouldn't. What matters is that I stopped letting him control my choices. For so long, I thought success meant pleasing people like him. Now, I know real success means walking away from anyone who tries to dim your light. The landlord apologized last week, awkwardly shuffling into my studio with a box of donuts and a promise to ease up on late rent notices. It was strange, seeing him act almost sheepish, like he realized he'd underestimated me. Maybe he had. Or maybe he just saw dollar signs after the gallery showcase made headlines. Either way, I didn't hold a grudge. Life's too short to carry bitterness around when forgiveness feels lighter. Besides, this tiny attic studio isn't just a space anymore. It's home. A sanctuary where I've bled, healed, transformed. Letting go of anger feels like honoring that. Even the critics who once dismissed me have changed their tune, calling my work bold, unflinching, revolutionary. Their praise doesn't sting like it used to. It feels earned now, built on authenticity instead of compromise. One journalist asked during an interview if I ever doubted myself, and I laughed without hesitation. Every day, I admitted. But doubt isn't the enemy. It's proof you're growing. That answer surprised even me, but it's true. Growth hurts. It stretches, breaks, rebuilds, but it's worth it. Without doubt, I wouldn't have fought so hard to prove myself wrong. The biggest change, though, is inside me. I don't second-guess every stroke or worry about pleasing others. My art isn't perfect. It's messy, chaotic, raw, but it's honest. And honesty resonates. People connect with it because it reminds them of themselves, their struggles, their fears, their hopes. That's what Dad tried to teach me, even if he couldn't find the words. Art isn't about perfection, it's about truth. About showing up again and again, even when it feels impossible. So here we are, all of us transformed by choices we didn't know would shape us. Sarah believes in me differently. Evelyn trusts me differently. The world sees me differently. But most importantly, I see myself differently. Stronger, braver, freer. Whatever comes next, I'll face it not as someone searching for approval, but as someone who knows exactly who she is and who she wants to be. What I've learned from all of this is something I think everyone tries to figure out at some point. How do you stay true to yourself when the world keeps telling you to be someone else? It's not an easy question, and I don't pretend to have all the answers. But I know now that authenticity isn't about being fearless. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. About showing up even when your hands shake, your heart races, and your mind screams that you're not good enough. Because here's the thing. No one is ever truly ready for the things that matter most. You just have to trust that somewhere inside you, there's a spark worth protecting, even if it feels like a flicker. One lesson hit me harder than the rest. Fear doesn't go away. It evolves. When I started this journey, my biggest fear was failure. Rejection letters, empty galleries, critics calling my work meaningless. But as I grew, so did my fears. They became deeper, sharper, more personal. What if I lost myself in the process of chasing success? What if I ended up like Dad, hiding parts of who I am because I was too afraid to let anyone see them? Facing those fears taught me something important. Growth isn't comfortable. In fact, it's downright painful. Every brushstroke felt like ripping open old wounds. Every decision forced me to confront doubts I thought I'd buried. But pain isn't the enemy. It's proof you're alive. Proof you're growing into someone stronger, braver, truer. Another truth I didn't expect to learn is that people will always have opinions about your choices, but their voices don't define you. For years, I let Dad's warnings echo in my head, shaping everything I did. Then came gallery owners dismissing my work, strangers questioning my path, Mr. Calloway dangling promises that felt too good to refuse. Each voice added weight until I could barely stand under it. Letting go of those expectations wasn't easy. It felt like shedding skin. But once I did, I realized something powerful. Validation doesn't come from others. It comes from within. When you stop seeking approval and start trusting yourself, the noise fades. Suddenly you can hear your own heartbeat again. And then there's love. The messy, complicated kind that ties us together even when it breaks us apart. Learning about Mom and Mr. Calloway, Dad and Evelyn, it made me rethink what love really means. Is it sacrifice, betrayal, forgiveness? Maybe it's all of those things, and none of them. What I do know is that love leaves marks, scars that remind us we were seen, known, cherished, even imperfectly, even painfully. And maybe that's okay, because without those marks, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't heal, we wouldn't become. So here I am, standing on the other side of everything I thought I knew, carrying lessons I'll carry forever. Lessons about fear, authenticity, love, forgiveness. Lessons about trusting yourself even when the road ahead feels uncertain. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. The hardest battles aren't fought against the world. They're fought within yourself. And winning doesn't mean silencing the doubts or erasing the pain. It means learning how to live alongside them, how to keep going even when it feels impossible. Now I want to hear from you. When was the last time you faced a fear head-on and chose to trust yourself? How did it change you? Did you discover something new about who you are or who you want to be? Comment below. I'd love to hear your stories, because while our journeys may look different, the struggles and triumphs feel the same, and sometimes sharing them reminds us we're not alone.